Tēnei te aro rangi nui e tuake nei, tēnei te aro papatua nuku e takoto nei, ka rarau te tapu wai o tāne ki runga, ka rarau te tapu wai o tāne ki raro. Tēnei te pō nau mai te ao, karangatia te ao e piri, karangatia ko tāne e piri e tata, hakamaua kia tīna.
Tīna.
Au mea hui e.
Tai ki e.
Nau mai hoki mai. Under the Whāriki, I'm Tioreore.
Ko te atākura Charlotte Pewhairangi a hau, ana ko piri mai tētahi manuhiri, ai tēnei rā ka tukuna ki a koe hoa ko, ai koe nohea hoki koe.
Kia ora, ko Tioreore Ngatai-Melbourne taku ingoa, ai te tahu taku māma no Ngāti Porou, te tahu taku pāpā no Tūhoi.
Tēnā koe, nau mai rā ki tēnei tā tātou kaupapa. We've got a pretty heavy kaupapa, and we really appreciate you coming on to talk to us about your experience and the taumaha that you and your whānau had to go through. Can you talk to me about what the experience of whakamomori was like for you and your whānau?
It was life-changing. Oh my God, kei te rongo ki i ngā roi mata i te mamai. But yeah, it was pretty life-changing. I te tau 2024 I mā te taku tuakana I te mate whakamomori. And, you know, I mua I tāna matenga he whānau hari koa mātou. Tā mātou tipuranga ki te kāinga, roto mai o matakao he ātāhua. Taku māma me taku pāpā, kaha rawa ki te poepoi o rawa tamariki, tokorima ngā tamariki tō mātou whānau. You know, everything a parent, a Māori parents would do, just raise their kids the best that they can. He kaiako aku mātua. Nō reira, I ki te mātou, ngā tamariki o mātou mātua, iara. He hoha I etahi wā. Engari, he pāinga o roto o tira. So yeah, we had a beautiful upbringing down the coast. So yeah, that's just to kind of paint a picture of how the type of whānau we were and the type of whānau we still are. So I te wā I mate ohorere nei, taku tuakana was like, yeah, life-changing.
I hia koe, te wai tuku tērā kārere ki a koe.
I te kura au. Yeah, so I maumahara I ngā, you know, the little details, the things that were happening that day. And I actually remember the night before, we were all at home and I think it was around, well, must have been around waru te takiwā o te waru kraka, wā moe. I te māharahara taku māma. And she was just like, you know, I te pātai mai ia ki a mātou o keiwhi, you know, where's Pero? I remember her like walking up and down the hallway. Te pātai mai, where's Pero? And because ka Pero ki te haere ki te whare o nā hoa, eh? Yeah. And so tō mātou whakaro, kei te whare o tāna hoa. You know, me puno having a session. It was, totally. You know, 8 o'clock. Tēnā koe. And yeah, ko ia tērā, and I think, I was 14 at the time, I was just like, nah, he's all good. Yeah. You know, kei te pai ia. O hoa kei te ata, you just, I don't know, I think we all just felt something. At the time, I didn't know what it was. So ka haere ki te kura, and then I think it was te takiwā o te wātina, ka hara mai tētahi o ngā kaiako ki te ruma. Ki mai ki au me taku teina o ore ki te come out, like, hara mai kōrua ki te ruma kaiako. And then I'm thinking, oosh, like, what's happening, you know, kei te wehe. You know, we're going somewhere. So ka haere atu māua ki te ruma kaiako, ka noho te kaiako ki reira, and ka ki te mātou ngā kaiako, te katoa, kei te tangi rātou, kei te umere wētahi. Yeah. And even then, I think in me, I was like, nah, all good.
All good.
Even though I saw that, all good. And ka ki mai taku teina ki au, she's like, it's Pero. And I was like, nah, I can't be, nah. And then, ka kahu atu māua ki tētahi motoka, ka hara mai tā mātou tūmau ki a Papa Campbell and ka ki mai kei te kāinga a māma, papa, me tō tuakana a poewa. And even then, I think in me I was like, nah, everything is all good, kei te pai, nothing wrong. And then, yeah, e traiwa ki te kāinga, I reira te waka tūroro, te waka prehimana, me te hapu. Ki te ai taku tuakana a poewa, and we just saw the look on her face. Pero's gone. Yeah, so, yeah, koera te rā that's how it all happened for me and kids. Yeah.
What was your brother like?
Oh, yeah, tangata hāta kehi. Like, you see me now and I'm a bit girly. Engari, growing up, I was my brother's tail. I would, I don't know, watch Naruto with him, watch ridiculousness with him. He could play any instrument. He could make a song on his laptop. He could rap. He was hine ngaro koi.
He's a ngatai.
Yeah, he was a ngatai. Yeah, ngā mea katoa. And I think every teacher that had him would always just say, Piroga was lovely. So yeah, he was golden child. My mum won't admit it, but he was her favourite. But he had just been through a lot. Yeah, been through a lot, Piro.
What was the lot? What was it? Where was the turning point where it became hard? Were you seeing the taimaha ia?
Well, it's funny because I never saw it. Because te kaima whātaku pakeki, so I think my brother was like, he always showed, he showed us how happy he was. So I never saw the signs. I didn't know what was happening. But, you know, I remember this one time he had to come back, because he waikato ia. And I remember I haria ki te hohi pera, engari kairi taku māma, me taku pāpai whaki mai aha te take. And I nānei kei te mōhio was, you know, kairi te pai tana wairua. And yeah, he was Māori, but we didn't. They would, my mum and dad, maku mātua ka huna rātou ia mō he tamariki. So 10 years, so this is the 10th year without our brother. And honestly, I think it's taken me 10 years to openly talk about it. Yeah, I've talked about it with close friends, and I've also talked about it with my partner before. In the early stages with me and my partner, I had to tell him because I felt like I needed to tell my partner because it's who I am now. I'm Tioreore and I've lost.
The part missing movie.
Yeah, there's a part missing, yeah. There's a part missing. So we're going to have some bad days and you're going to see everything. Yeah, ka ngai tonu te mamai. Even when I hear te taua kapura whakamomori, or I remember my partner was on his phone and he was like, oh my God. And then just by the sound of what he made, I knew someone had mā te whakamomori. You just, I don't know, you just know. Yeah.
E mea nui mo te tāne, te mate heningaro. And ko kōrero tia e mawa ki tēnei kaupapa. We're in West Vancouver and we're looking over the silhouette of this massive city. Two little coasties. And wondering how we got there. And ko tā māua piri, ko te whakamomori. And I wānanga, I ruku i tērā wānanga. And I think it's a kaupapa that's been almost like marketed to our men today about mental health, where it's something is wrong with you, you know, and they're telling you something's wrong, go get you checked up. But for me, we talked about it in the previous episodes, te pō, he mea ka tūtaki, te katoa o tātou.
Ai.
Hey, we all know te pō.
Ai.
So how do we develop tools where that whiro, our ego in us,
Yeah.
we can ask for help? Because, you know, you talk about your whānau, mōhio au ki o mātua, papata and kokakara, and I wonder how couldn't Piro go to them?
Yeah.
How do you get to that place where you can't turn to whānau who's literally always been there anyway?
Yeah. I think it was a few days before he passed away. It was like he was, because for a little bit there, even the ahakoa te kaimawha taku pakeke, and ahakoa he tried to show up, you know, in his best version of himself. For a little, he slipped away a little bit there. There was this video of him doing the haka at his mate's 21st, and like looking at that photo, maybe looking at that moment you couldn't see, but looking at that photo after he had passed away, you just see it. Like you see the mama that he was going through. He was doing that haka, and you could tell he didn't want to be there, but he wanted to be there for his mate. And kāre he ihi he wehi rāna i roto i tana haka. Yeah, and
Kare orangai.
those last few days, and it's called like the last dance theory, and that theory is they start doing everything that makes them happy again. And so in our minds, well, Piro's back.
He's home.
Yeah, he's home.
on.
He was making us breakfast, and that night of his mate's 21st, kāre e putatu. Because that was him, haere ki te mahi whakangahau. Kāre e putatu, I noho ia ki te kāinga, me te noho ki tā mātou taha. And we're watching movies, and then the next morning he made us breakfast, and it was like he was happy, you know? But koira tawa theory, they start doing everything that, because they know kua wātea.
Yeah.
Hey, kua wātea.
Ko whirikete,
Yeah.
yeah.
They've made their decision, and I remember the last conversation we had was in my mum and dad's bedroom, and I just landed a role on Hunt for the Water People. And he comes in and he was like, "Oh, I heard you cracked it." And I was like, "Yeah." And he was like, "How much are you getting paid?" I told him, and he was like, "Yeah." And then like gave me a handshake and then left. But I just thought, yeah, that was a cool conversation that we had together, because I hadn't seen that version of him in a while, and I was like, he's back. But yeah.
Was whakamomori a kaupapa that was spoken about in your whare growing up?
No, honestly, that was the first time actually a few weeks before that, one of his mates passed away. Te mateanga orite. Engari kare I haere. And we wondered why wouldn't you go to your mate's tangi? Yeah, there's all of these unanswered questions.
It's like, you know, we have whānau out there that we can see our mama. You just think, I'll just stay out the way. They let them deal with it.
Yeah.
Because it's easy. It's easy to stay out the way for me,
Yeah.
or us.
Yeah.
That's where the mate comes from. Eh?
Yeah.
Is that you feel like I could have. I know I can help people. Why don't I help? For me, it's been, you know, with my experience with whakamomori, tōku whānau. Maumaharau, te wā I mate e tōku tuene, Tony girl, and we were in Aussie the last time I seen her. She lived in Aussie, and I rolled up on her, and we're in Harbour Town, you know, the Gold Coast, the shopping centre, and she bought me one of those jumbo juices, or Boost.
Boost juice, yeah.
And I don't, you know, pēra ki a koe, only pēr te kaumaono, te pakeke i tua. And, you know, I hadn't seen this Tony in like 3 years because they live in Aussie. And I remember just like catching up with her. Oh, Jay, have a booze. Nice to see you. Laters.
Yeah.
And then I think back, fuck. I te wā, I hoki mātou ki te kāinga. I think 3 months later, I pā mai tēnā karere ki a mātou. And the whole whānau flew over and grabbed her. But I remembered thinking, the last time I seen her, we had so much fun.
Yeah.
And then I remembered thinking, holy heck, she wasn't even talking, actually. I was having so much fun. I lost. I didn't even, I'm not even looking outside of me. That's where it was. And you can't even see that what anyone else is going through. I remember that karere, and we were in Manaia, and I walked in the whare in Imoio. Imoio, e Aitua. And my mum, my auntie and them saw sitting there, and they said to me, ko hea tiny girl. And I, what do you mean we're here? We're here where? Hey, ko hinga. Ita, e Aitua, what happened? And they told me, whakamomori. And he radio.
Yeah.
I got angry at her during the tangi. I remembered looking at my uncle, he couldn't look up. Looking at my auntie, looking at my brothers, and they looked like zombies. You know, I used to be one of those fellas, era whakamomori, that's the easy way out. You know, that's the for the weak, all that stuff. But Tony Girl was the toughest bitch I knew. You know, so then I knew, fuck, even tough people,
Yeah.
even tough people do it.
E hoa i kōrero rā, koe hara tēnei te whakamomori i te kaupapa i kōrero tia i roto i tō whare. Ana ki te whakarau ki taku te puranga, he nui te kōrero tia o tērā kaupapa. It was so normalised, that conversation in my upbringing. And I just wondered, he aha ki a koe te take i noho muna ai tērā kōrero? He aha te take ka whakamomori te tangata kaore tātou e ki he whakamomori? He aha te take ka noho muna, ka noho huna? He aha e tahi o ngā whea koi whea kohia e koutou ko tō whānau?
Ki au nei, taku māma me taku pāpā, e tino haumaru tā mātou whakatipuranga. Tērā pia koira tētahi take i ngana rātou ki te aukati, i aua momo kōrero, i roto i tō mātou whare, me te mea no hoki kare mātou i mōhio ka tai mai taua taniwha ki tō mātou whānau. So ki au nei koira te take. And hoki atu anō ki tō kōrero i te wai ki koe pupu aki te riri, i te wai mōhio koe mai mahara au i pērā hoki o na hoa. So, mai mahara au i au te kura i a māua ko taku tainai he koe ana ki te motoka, ki te mātou i ngā tama. He riri, i te riri rātou, and i taua wāhoki, I was like, what the hell's going on?
Yeah.
But, yeah, I remember being angry too. And I remember being angry at his friends. And kei te mohi nei, you know, it was no one's fault. But I remember just, you know, your whole life turns around, you're thinking all these crazy things. And I remember just blaming people, myself included. I just remember not wanting to talk to any of his friends because the little girl in me just thought, you know, you should have been there. And then i te rātou tonu, i mate tētahi waku whanaunga ki te mate o rite. I roto ia i taku krahi i te kura. And I just remember thinking, like, I don't want to go back. Like, I kare pirangi te oki atu mo tāna tangihanga. Because I just didn't want to feel that taua. I just felt whakama. And I think me, my siblings, and my parents did we felt whakamā to go back to that tangi because I ori te takutua kana, but my mum is just, she was so strong. She was on the ready, eh? I whakarite ia I te koera taku māma ai ka o te kāinga. Whakarite ia I te marae, whakarite ngā mātarehi. Whāriki te kāinga ki te whakarite I ngā tēneti. Whakarite ai anō ki te tuku I tāna karanga, ki tāna iramatu. She was ready. And so we got home, saw my mum and dad, and then I awhi mātou. No words. Kare he kupu, he awhi noiho. But, you know, yeah, we knew that we had to prepare ourselves for that tangi. And, yeah, taku. Kia nei kare wahine tu atu I taku māma. Me te maia hoki o tana tū. My mum and dad, they were so strong, and that's the strongest I've ever seen them. And I even remember te rā whakamitunga I te rā I nehu I taku tuakana. I te noho mātou ki runga I te prani I te takoto au me waku tuakana teina, taha taku tungane. Engari taku māma me taku pāpa I te noho rāua ki runga I ngā tūru. And they were staunch as, and I've like...
I mentioned, Taunekio, I was one of the kaikiri puku moia, the grave diggers. And it was the hardest grave I've ever dug. This clay was like concrete. She wasn't meant to go down, like, e mahanga tohu pera. And then I remember coming back the next year, saying, a kapa ngārangi, saying, urupa, right next to her, our uncle died, and we put him in next to her. Hey, Jakia, and easiest hole ever to dig. So it wasn't the whenua. Like, I was like, oh my God, I'm never digging a kapa ngārangi again. I'm not putting my hand up for a spade, bro. Yeah. But after that tangi, I was like, holy heck. Yeah. Those are the type of tohu where you know things aren't right.
I remember there was an auntie on the Poroporo Aki night. She done a huge koho about whakamomori and why you shouldn't do it. And I was just like... but I think everyone, because kare rangona taua kupu whakamomori ki tō mātou hapori.
Sure.
Yeah.
Well, not that Tioreore, 14-year-old Tioreore knew. And I think all of us were just like, whoa. But we needed to hear that.
It's crazy, but it just keeps happening. Like everywhere all the time. And tāne Māori.
Aye.
Nobody can pinpoint it, eh? Hā tēnei kino kia mātou.
I remember, and all the questions that we got after it happened were silly.
Yeah.
They were silly questions. They were like, oh, wouldn't you have known? It was stuff like that. Wouldn't you have known? Well, what was happening with him? Did you know? Like, asking me questions like that. And I'm like, bro. But I remember tētahi koka I Haramaiakia, and she was like, apparently, if you have tikanga Māori in your whānau, kahiki te kōrero Māori, all these Māori things, then you should be healthy. Like, you shouldn't. And she was like,
Because all Māori are healthy.
She goes, didn't Piro have that? And I was like, yeah, he had everything. Like, we had everything. But, you know, I think it was a bit different with Piro because he had a few injuries and his love, like, tana I kai ngākau nui e ki te poi tūkuru. And I wharatana waiwai, he couldn't do sports anymore. So he turned to music. But I think, or we think all these things.
Yeah.
Like we think all these, and we're still thinking these things.
Yeah.
We're still thinking why, or we're still, you know, mama and papa kaharawa ki te haere ki ngā tohunga me te pātai o hei pēnei ai. Pero will come through one day, he'll say this thing, the other day he'll say this thing. So I guess, yeah.
What do the answers do though? to the action, eh?
Yeah.
Instead of searching for answers, we need to be finding solutions on how we don't do this again.
Yeah. Well, Mum and Dad, they were, honestly, it was probably a year after Pero passed away. Uncle Tuta ngāre me kua I mate I te rātou. Engari, Uncle and a few of the whānau from home, they made Ngāti for Life, what was it, Ngāti for Life charity? And he I atau I whakatūria I tētahi kono he mea whakakuakua I te hāpori ai. And it was around whakamomori me pēhea te, you know, patu I taua taniwha. So yeah, Miles were right into that kind of stuff. And I just couldn't see how they were just doing that, just up and doing that, even though, you know, they were still sick. Te māwiwi I te matehine ngaro rāwa mātou katoa, and they were still like finding solutions, and they still are. We all still are.
Kua kitea rana e koutou, kua kitea rana he pakurongoa ki tēnei ngārara?
I tuku pātuhi atu ai ki taku pāpā me te ki, I was just like, Papa, wait, I'm going into this podcast, Papa, what if they ask me, like, how do we prevent it? You know, how tētahi rongoa?
Yeah.
And I said, because I don't know the answer.
Yeah.
And ki mai ear, he was just like, just keep doing things in your hapu. Whakatūria I wera momo kaupapa, whakaora I te hapori, whakakuakua I te hapori. But yeah, even that, I don't think that's enough, you know.
I've thought about like ko taitanga, you know, the kingitanga, talking about ko taitanga as this whāinga, and me pēhea tātou te iwi Māori e whakakotai. Ki au o te whakapono, that's how we will whakakotai. And ngara te mea me ōrite te whakapono, he hāhi, he māramatanga, he whakapono. Hāhi kai a koe, he mea o tēnei ao. Ko waianga tētai tangata I tērā hāhi. You know, whatever denomination, up to you, go hard. He Māori, he hara ane. Tō māramatanga, he mea me whai. Me whai, me tipu, me ako, me manaaki, me tiaki, me whakatō, he kākano no, ka pua mai anō. So, I don't know if that's the answer, but, you know, through that whakapono is something that every Māori is born with, deeply ingrained. Whakapono, well, kia mātou ngā moru o rātana I tae mai te wairua tapu ki ngā Māori, because we were the last that with whakapono, with true whakapono. And whakapono to us, whakapono to our ways right. That's what it is, like Ngātis and Tūhoes and wherever you are, you're right, there's a right and wrong. You know, don't do it that way, don't do it this way. And we've kind of whakapākea tēnei mea, te whakapono, because we've associated it with God or church. But he rere ke wera mea katoa. Whakapono is what we all have, and whakapono Māori I o matua kore. You know, everyone's whakaponos lead to one God. So it's like, then there probably is one God. Yeah. So to me, it's like, bro, whakapono, me whakapono koe ki a koe anō, ki tō whānau, ki o mātāpono, ki o pukenga. That's where it starts, eh? And when you lose whakapono in yourself and in your kaupapa, in your oranga, ko mate.
Actually, as you talk about whakapono, another thing I think is te noko Māori. You know, like I remember there was one day after kura we all had to go and do counselling because brother just passed away, and I hated it. It was me, taku tuakara me taku taina, we were sitting in a room talking to this fella, and the questions were like, so who was the closest? like te mana, and I was like, oh, looking at each other like, what? Came out of that session confused. Engari, like now we know, like nā te mea I tipu ake mātou ki te araro, kei reira te moana, kei reira te awa. Ka haere noe hoki te kauhoi, kua pai.
Yeah.
You know, ka haere ki te moana, kua pai. And we still do that, even I te wā mā te taku whanaunga I te rātou, I te mutunga iho, te tangihanga ka haere tōtika ki te awa. Ka noho ki roto I te awa, ka wāna ki roto I te awa, mō ngā neke atu I te rima haora pia, noho ana I roto I te awa. So, yeah, I think that's also one thing, you know, e whakapono te hoki ki o whenua.
Easy to say your awa, but it's a different thing to
Actually,
horoi.
someone,
Yeah.
Horoi I tō awa. Inu mea e tō awa. That's a thing that he rongoa ki reira.
pono.
Ai.
It goes back to whakapono. I whakapono that if I get home, I'll be all right.
Yeah.
Hey,
Yeah.
like if I just get for a swim wairea, then sweet, good to go again. Put I tōku awa, go again.
Yeah.
I took this toka with me last year on the mish. Te timatanga o tōku haerenga, haere au ki tōku awa. Ko I tēnei toka, tēnei pō atu, and I tohi au. I tohi au ki tēnei pō atu. And we ain't coming back to this awa. You'll come home. You'll get home. Whakapono that you'll get home. But you ain't making it back until we get around the whole thing. Yeah. And we did it. We went around this island and ia wai, haere au ki reira, tip mai pōhatu in all these different wai, all these different awa, all these different moana. And I brought that mauri home, back to my awa, chopped it in there, and I knew I've added to the whakapapo of my awa. Yeah, it was actually a hard thing for me to throw the rock. Like, because like, I had been so attached to it. I was like holding on to it, like not wanting to finish. Like, I was like, I didn't want to like give it back. But then you have to wrap the journey up. You have to finish. You have to let it go. That's the same as our mamae. You have to find a space to be able to let it go.
What would you say to those who are struggling or to those who feel like that there's just no way out?
Well, I think kei koe te tahi o ngā hua. You know, we've survived it. Because I te wā ka hinga tētahi ki tau momo mate, that mate then goes on to the whānau, then goes on to the friends. Actually, I don't think nā te mea I whakatipu mātou ki te kura kaupapa, te aho matua, with kawakawa mai tawhiti. I think if we was to be at another school that didn't have, you know, ngā waratanga, ngā mātāpono o te kura, te aroha I whāngaihia ngā kaiako ki a mātou, I honestly don't think we would be all good now. That our kura saved us. In like, I think a few months after, I tai mai te kura katoa ki tō mātou kāinga, I waiata I ngā waiata, koira tētahi oranga anō, ko te kapahaka, I tunu I ngā kai, reka, I whāngai, I te whānau katoa. So, yeah, I think, yeah, sorry, that was a bit easy.
Nā, he pai tērā whakautu ko ngā tamaiti, ngā tamariki, te rongoa. Because it's what the kura, it's yous, it's the babies. Yeah. That's our rongoa. He rongoa pai.
I ngā kupu o māma mereheni o roto mai o te araroa, ki mua te haere.
Ki mua te haere. I think that's it.
Yeah.
Ki mua te haere.
Koe.
E koutou mā. Love you all. Thank you for listening.